So we finished on this slide where we've done an exercise with calculated return on a marketing investment. And here is the last part of the lecture. So a few more slides to go. Now, linking back to your assignment, your presentation, how can you assess incremental value of marketing? Once again, you do not need to do the actual calculations. You will need to provide a metric that you will use and justify the use of your metric or metrics, and also explain how will it work. So in a way, it's a little bit easier rather than do the actual calculations. However, if you wanted to do the calculations, you are welcome to do that. But don't do that just for the sake of doing and trying to impress someone. Do it if you really want to understand how it works and doing for your own sake so you can learn from this. So in order to assess incremental value of marketing, that's when we were talking about, say, for example, Coca. Obviously, it's a bit unrealistic, but say Coca-Cola is not using any marketing and every year is making $1 billion in sales. Now, next year, company Coca-Cola started using marketing and increased their sales to $1.5 million. So you can say that this incremental value attributable to marketing will be $500,000, because with marketing it was 1.5, without marketing was 1. 1.5 minus 1 is 0.5, $500,000. So that would be great if life would be as easy as that, but it's not as simple. So how do you assess the incremental value of marketing? Consider the following, but don't be limited to those. Consider other things that come to your mind and that would make sense. Brand, is it well known or not? Because if you are not a well-known brand and you want to sell something, would that be harder? Probably it would. Look how many startups are struggling to even get the message out there about the products that they're making. Whereas if you look big brands such as Coca-Cola, Apple, when they want to sell something, they might rely less on marketing in a way, relatively less than those unknown companies, because the brand is known, there is trust already created. So contribution from marketing might be actually lower than for the companies that are not known in the world and we need to market a lot. Product, is it new to the world or development? Again, if you look example, Apple, they are upgrading their phones, so it already gained trust, people know about the phones, it's easier. But if Apple now were to introduce an innovative and interactive furniture, that might make some people stop and think whether they are just as good at producing innovative furniture as they are with the phones. And again, if it's about product and brand fit, so if it kind of the fit is slightly less kind of clear, then it would require more marketing. If there is a better fit, then it would require less marketing. Competition, how tough is it? How many choices do customers have? So if you're introducing a new chewing gum in a supermarket, go to that supermarket and think how many options do your customers have. If there is only one brand you're competing with, that might be easier. But if there is 15, then it might be more difficult, and you need more investment into marketing to in order to reach those customers. Channels, how are these helping to sell your product? If you are available just online and nothing in stores, then it might be more difficult. But if you are available throughout different channels, then people can find it easier to actually find you. Sometimes we go in the shop, just like I did today actually, to search for a chocolate, and I was looking for a dark chocolate. I like white Lindt, I like green and black, and somehow I found this new Chocologic brand, or so it's called. Never seen them anywhere, never known about the brand, but I just saw on the shelf. So then I compared the ingredients and I thought, oh, actually, I'll go for this. I decided to go for this, and actually, I'm quite happy with my choice. So in a way, company didn't need to do marketing to reach me because it was available on the shelf and I was able to see it. marketing communications, how aggressive your marketing is, how badly do you want to get through this clutter and reach your customers. So the more obviously aggressive you are, the more marketing expenses it will require, and the less it means less contribution. So obviously on the opposite side, you need to think how many units of a product would you sell in absence of marketing. So just step back and think, okay, so if I am selling now this chewing gum in a supermarket and I'm using no marketing whatsoever, what's the likelihood that people will buy it? Do we know about the brand, product, competition, channels, communications, and stuff like that? And kind of try and work out this maybe even percentage, what would be without marketing, what would be with marketing. And again, remember, if you are starting, you are a new company, or your product and brand fit is not as close, you might need more marketing effort to do that. Whereas if you compare with kind of, again, Apple, Samsung, natural upgrades of the phones, so it's more about communicating to customers the benefits, differences between those phones, but maybe kind of sometimes less so about this aggressive marketing, because they already managed to convince the population that their phones are good, if that makes sense. So never easy, a lot to think about, but this might be a good starting point. There is a bit of kind of data paradox. While large companies are overwhelmed with data today, small companies suffer from famine data. And this is where the problem is. Some have too much data, others have too little data. Many popular metrics are based on customer opinions and the data collected by survey. However, it's well researched that what customers say and how they subsequently behave is often very different. So again, rely on the data, but like with a bit of pinch of salt, and kind of try and step back and think whether that's something that is going to provide me with real insight. So don't be driven by the data, but you need to be in charge and drive the data. Here it is quite interesting. So measuring marketing performance, there are 5 questions that executive would ask, and this is based on McKinsey & Company report published in 2012. The first question they would ask is, what exactly influences our customers today? When considering products, customers rely on online reviews and compare prices. Once they are in store, what we do, they search for deals with mobile devices and drive bargains. After the purchase, they become reviewers themselves and demand ongoing relationships with brands. Although companies have access to terabytes of data, yet they don't know how exactly what influences their customers. For example, there was one global company, one global consumer products company, and they had for years relied heavily on traditional marketing, TV and print ads. Concerned with the growth of new media, the company decided to do some sort of research. As a result of this research, they found out that only 30% of customers were influenced by traditional advertising. In fact, in-store interactions with customers were more important. However, salespeople declined in importance at right the same time. So marketers must be ready to use the findings to kind of debunk accepted wisdom and challenge the status quo. The second one is, how well really is our marketing judgment? So marketing has for years combined facts and judgment. And more than a decade ago, almost 2 decades ago, when traditional advertising was a king, marketers were quite confident with their own judgment. But now it's really hard to make rational investment case and admit that what you are really doing is making a very passionate guess. Marketeers often hear that the answer in improving the judgment today is data. Yet it's difficult to integrate all of this information. So it's good to start by formulating hypotheses and only then seek analytical evidence. Do not do the other way around. Interesting example. One insurance company spent a year working on a complex demand model to try to understand the impact of its growing marketing spending in light of declining sales. So they were increasing marketing spending and the sales were declining. They really struggled to understand what was going on. So analytics were too complicated actually for the business to understand. The situation has improved only when they kind of realized that they should kind of change the question. So the question shifted from should we be spending on marketing at all to what is the optimal marketing spend? And here the lesson is that data remains only as useful as expertise you bring in. A good judgment will remain always a hallmark of best marketers. Number 3, how are we managing financial risk in our marketing plans? So there is very little experience, of course, about which messages work, when should they be applied, how can they be scaled, or even whom to influence at what time. At a basic level, the degree of return on investment risk, getting the sales result you want from a given amount of the marketing spending has increased. The question is how much risk is too much or too little. Spending on a new media, of course, is a risk itself. So, for example, one global consumer products company set risks parameters, maximum that particular percentage for spending on unproven vehicles, the ones that they never tested before. So it also limits on annual spending reductions and increases, and it kind of ensures gradual move, mitigating the risk. Number 4 is how are we coping with added complexity in the marketing organization? So marketers historically had only a handful of communication vehicles. Now they have dozens of them. This proliferation led to the rise in specialist not only media channels such as social media, but even in individual vehicles such as just Facebook. So McKinsey found 3 things that are always true. Number 1, you will always require a number of specialists. You just simply can't get all the skills from one person. Number 2, you will need someone who both integrates marketing efforts across channels and communication vehicles and focuses on the bottom line at the same time. So in the fast-moving consumer goods company, it's the role of brand managers. And number 3, you will need absolute clarity in the process, roles, and responsibilities, not only within marketing departments, but also throughout your company. This all requires dedicated effort. And number 5, what metrics should we track given our imperfect opinions? So no single metric can evaluate the effectiveness of all marketing spending, yet you must have a way to track progress and hold marketers somehow accountable. For example, one international logistics company committed more than $200 million to rebrand itself following a series of acquisitions. Senior executives wanted proof that the effort was working. The company adopted a small 3-step approach, measuring the impact of advertising on customer recall, on the public's perceptions of the business and sales leads, and revenue. Likewise, one consumer packaged goods company uses econometric analysis. So metrics are rarely perfect, you just need to find what would work best in a given scenario. So summary, no single metric can ever evaluate the effectiveness of all marketing spending. There is no silver bullet. However, you must find a way to measure the performance. And as the phrase goes, now that I can actually show the impact of revenue, I will be able to shift that perception of marketing as the arts and crafts function to marketing as the revenue driver. Here are some tips. Define what you are measuring before your campaign begins. Have database ready and maintain it. Partner with financial, IT, and other departments. And remember, mathematicians and statisticians should be your best friends. And finally, it's a matter of practice, just like with any sport or anything you do in life. So hopefully we have managed to achieve the learning outcomes such as appreciate the importance of marketing, define marketing metrics, understand debate challenges, and get started. So I wish you to look at measured marketing performance as something that is challenging but at the same time interesting and positive. Good luck. Bye now.